Custom audiences on the Meta Ads platform allow you to target users who have engaged with your business before. Based on your campaign goals, these can be great for targeting, exclusion, or for creating lookalikes off of. So in this video, we want to walk through each of the different types of custom audiences you can build in the Meta Ads platform so you can start using them in your Facebook and Instagram campaigns. We're going to spend pretty much the entirety of this video in the Audience Manager in Facebook. To walk you through each of these different types of custom audiences, I'm going to try and use an account that has that type of asset, but there might be some where I don't have a specific piece, so please bear with me. But since there are so many different types of custom audiences, it's hard to make sure we have a live example for everything. That also means that there's probably going to be a lot of blurring in this video, but I'm going to try and minimize it and make sure that you can still understand how each custom audience works. Really quick, to navigate to the Audience Manager, you can either come over to this icon with 3 people in it, or you can click on All Tools, and it will be under the Advertise section for audiences. As I mentioned in the intro, a custom audience is engaging with people who have already engaged with your business. So this is effectively a type of retargeting audience. To create your first one, you just need to come over to Create Audience. You then get to choose the type that you want. Clearly, we want a custom audience. And here we'll see all the different sources we can use to create custom audiences in the Meta or Facebook ads platform. These are going to be broken up into 2 different sections, your sources and meta sources. As you can probably tell, anything under your sources is what you own. So this is going to include your website, any customer lists, your catalog, and everything under the meta sources section are going to be owned by Facebook. These are all different ways that people engage with your brand on the Meta platform. As I said earlier, we're going to go through each of these, but a lot of the functionality in them is going to be the same. So we'll probably spend a little bit more time at the beginning, understand how the custom audience builder works. And then as we get further down, I'll skip over some of the functionality that's going to be the same throughout all of the different custom audience types and focus only on the different targeting options within each of the different segments. Let's start off with the first type, which is going to be website. This is probably also the most common usage that we see for custom audiences. So if we click here, we'll just go to next. And here you'll have the audience builder. Let's focus on a lot of the functionality first. In the majority of custom audiences you can make on the Meta platforms, you're going to have an option up here to change the logic within any of your audiences. By default, your website custom audience will include account center accounts who meet any of the following criteria. This translates to an OR statement in any of the different logics between targeting options. You can also utilize an AND statement, meaning that somebody has to meet all of the different criteria within your custom audience. And you'll notice that the button down below changed to say further narrow rather than include more people than it did when we had the any logic in place. That might be hard to follow without an example, so I'll come back to this in a little bit, but since it was at the top of the screen, I wanted to cover it first. Next, you will choose your source. Again, for any of the different types of audiences, you will choose the source of the data that you want to use. For a website custom audience, that's going to be the pixel. So if you have either just your pixel in your account, or if you're like us and you have a business manager account with access to lots of different pixels, you'll need to choose from this drop down here. And then next you get to choose the events that you want to include in your audience. If I choose this drop down here, you can say that you either want all website visitors from this specific pixel, you want people who only visited specific pages, visitors based by the time they spent on your page, or visitors who interacted with any of your specific events that you have on your website. The all visitors list is pretty easy to understand, so let's start to break these down a little bit. What about visited specific web pages? Here you can start to create URL rules for either contains, does not contain, or equals. And then you can add in any of the different website pages that you want to include or exclude. You can then further refine that by either an aggregated value or device. Aggregated value is going to be either the frequency, sum of, average of, minimum of, and then all of the different logic settings you can have here. And they give an example of frequency of 2. So this would be anybody who visited a specific page with a frequency either equal to or greater than 2, meaning they visited that page at least twice. You can also further refine by device. So you could choose from the dropdown what type of device somebody had, either all devices, which is going to be the default, iOS, Android, or desktop. So for whatever reason you want to create a list of people who visited a specific page on your site more than twice from a specific type of device, that's an audience you can make. For now, let's ditch these other options and head back up to the original section that we had. and choose a different option from this dropdown. You can choose visitors by time spent, which will default you to the top 25 percentile on your website. What this means is that every user who comes to your website spends a certain amount of time on the site. And since the Facebook pixel is on the site, they know how much time they spent. They'll then break that into percentiles, and you can choose either the top 25%, top 10%, or top 5% of website time spent, which would help you target your more active users on your site. The last option we have is going to be based on a specific event. So let's just say a page view, that way we don't have to blur it out. But you'll also notice that there were lots of other events that fired. So depending on how you have events set up on your website, this could be just as good as a purchasers list, an add to cart, anybody who watched a specific video. Any of the options you have for firing Facebook events on your website could translate into a custom audience based on website events. Next, you get to choose the retention option, which is going to be how long the user stays in this audience. Default is going to be 30 days, but you can let this go all the way up to 180 days. That's going to be the maximum that you can have. Now, I know a lot of people like to set the custom audiences to the maximum to start as just a basic fundamental practice. And while that might make sense for some businesses, just think how long you're still relevant in a specific business's site if you visited them one time 6 months ago. Do you still want to be retargeted by that person? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Just think about how impactful that ad will be within a certain time frame and set your limits accordingly. Now we get into some of the additional logic that we have down here. Since we have the any statement or the or function operating here, we can include more people, which you'll now see that have the or statement here. And then you have the entire same builder again, because you can say that you want to include anybody who had this page view event or anybody who had this second set of parameters. Let me close this out real quick. You can then also decide to exclude people, which again brings up the exact same builder. So maybe you want people who had the page view event, but don't include anybody who landed on a thank you page or anybody who landed on a specific page like the jobs page, something like that. You can create exclusions within the website builder. And then lastly, if we change this function back to all, you'll see that it will then further narrow, and then we'll bring up the entire builder again, but now somebody has to be in this page view event and also match any of the parameters that we set down here. Depending on how specific you need your custom audience to be for your website users, you need to make sure that you pay attention to the any versus all functionality at the top, because it changes the and or logic that you can use with multiple different sections. You'll notice, for example, when I change this to be a URL rule, I can only really include one URL here. There's not an ability to add multiple different URLs where the URL contains this as well as something else. That's where this and versus or statement comes in. Because each of these boxes only includes one parameter, unless you further refine it, you'll very much need to make sure that you add in as many boxes as you need by either further narrowing or including more people to hit the audience that you want. For now, I'm going to exit out of this. The last thing you get to do is give your audience a name and a description. I can't tell you how many times people on Facebook simply give audiences just whatever name comes to their mind when they're creating the audience or the different campaign they're trying to hit, and it becomes such a nightmare to figure out who is in the audience later on. Please come up with some sort of naming convention using acronyms or something along those lines so that you'll know exactly what this audience is and who it's made up of, even if you don't have to come all the way back in here and see all the different parameters. You're only given 50 characters for the audience name, but you are given an additional 100 for the description. So if you don't have enough to get away with just in the audience name, please put in a description, because from somebody who goes into accounts that have been live for years on end, I can't tell you how frustrating it is to go into an audience manager and have no idea what lookalike audience 2 means. Just really frustrating. Anyway, that's all for that. And that's going to be the longest audience type that we talk about today, because we already talked about all of the different functionalities within the audience builder. So from here on out, I'm really going to focus just on what types of audiences you can build and not talk about the functionality. As I'm going through all of these different audience types moving forward, if you find yourself not knowing what one of the functions does or how to narrow an audience or exclude people, please come back to this section and watch again, then go back to the different audience that you want to use. For now, let's navigate back to the main audience builder. And let's go through the second type, which is app activity. And here's where we run into the first case that I don't have a specific account to show you for this. Instead, we're going to look at the Facebook help section to talk about this, just so you have something else to look at. But similar to the event section for the website custom audience, all app engagement audiences are going to be based on any of the app events that you have set up that you want to target in the account. A handful of the different options are going to be anybody who opened your app, they achieved a specific level, maybe they added payment information, they made an in-app purchase, completed a tutorial, any of the different options that you have in there. All of your app custom audiences in Facebook will be based on the events that you have in your app tracking. You will be able to further refine that audience list by either trying to find the people who have made an in-app purchase within a certain amount of time, or have made an in-app purchase with a certain amount of value, or any of the other events that are in there based on either time or value. And you can also focus on the different Android or iOS systems as well. Overall, app custom audiences on Facebook should feel very similar to website event actions within the platform. Next, let's focus on the catalog option. We're going to ignore the warning up at the top, but the first thing you need to do is choose your source, which is going to be the specific catalog that you're choosing for this audience. Depending on how many businesses you're managing here, you'll need to choose whichever catalog you're importing from this dropdown. Then you get to choose the product set. By default, you're going to be opted into all products, but any of the product sets that you have created in your Facebook account, you'll be able to choose from. Right here we have a bestsellers real quick, so we'll just choose that one. And then you'll recognize some of the any and include more people functionality that we have. But the events that we have available for a catalog custom audience are going to be anybody who viewed products in this product set, anybody who added these products to a cart, and anybody who purchased products from this specific product set. Again, any combination that you can make of those three types of events, you'll be able to create a catalog custom audience on Facebook. The next audience type we're going to look at is customer list. I'm not going to go through the entire setup here, but effectively a customer list allows you to upload a CSV or TXT file of your known customers. Now, customers is a very specific word. That usually means people who have paid you. But if you have somebody's information because they filled out a form or because they have done some other first-party data exchange, this is going to be the place where you would upload that into the platform to target them. You need to include at least one main identifier, whether that's their first name, last name, email, phone number, or if you have their mobile advertiser ID, app user ID, or page user ID, you can use those. You can also add in more identifiers, mostly their location and demographic information, to help Facebook narrow down which specific users you're trying to target. You can add a value to that user if you want to create a value-based lookalike audience. And you can also adjust your data processing options if you need to do that. There are some pretty helpful buttons here. If you have MailChimp, you can import directly without having to have a specific file. You can download a template to make sure that your formatting is okay. You can also see formatting guidelines if you need to have even more confidence that your file will upload perfectly. As you can see in the other steps here, after you have prepared your list, which this page is just designed to tell you how you need to prepare a specific list, you'll then find your customer list on your computer. You'll match the columns based on the data that you've provided. Facebook does the best job at this. Even if your columns aren't perfectly named, perfectly formatted, they let you choose from some dropdowns in the upload process, unlike other platforms like, I don't know, LinkedIn, which just yells at you all the time. You'll then upload it and confirm that the custom audience is finished. Very simple process. And then the audience usually takes anywhere from a couple hours to a couple days to process, depending on how good the match rate is. The last audience type from your sources is going to be offline activity. And here's where we get to create an audience of people who have interacted with your business in the store, over the phone, or by other offline channels. This is another one of those audience types that we don't have any examples for. So instead, let's look really quickly at the Facebook help section, where you can utilize up to 180 days of offline event data to create custom audiences. But you'll notice here, this is going to be a much more specific type of audience. Here you actually need to go into the events manager, create a new data source, and include information around the source and events and retention that will then allow you to use a lot of the events that we see in the audience builder. So back here, you'll have to find the specific source. So it'll be the different data source that you have. And then you'll be able to choose from the events here, either all of the people who engaged offline or any of the specific events that you have fired in that data set. And you'll be able to then include, exclude, or adjust any of the different options that you have available there. So again, offline activity requires you to add in additional information in the events manager and create a new data source based on that offline activity, since it is offline and inherently not visible by Facebook. Now let's start to get into the meta sources, or any of the sources that are owned by the Facebook platform. First option is going to be video. We first get to choose our content type and how somebody engaged with your videos. Did they watch at least 3 seconds, at least 10 seconds? Did they watch 15 seconds or a through play? Or you can create audiences based on percentage of the video watched. So just to move this process along, let's say somebody watched at least 10 seconds of your video. Now you can either leave this as it is and target people who've watched 10 seconds of any video, or you can choose the specific videos they watched 10 seconds of. Over here on the right is where all of your selected videos will show up. So if you wanted to choose one of these videos, let's just check the box here. You'll notice that it'll show up on the right, and that would be included in the audience. Anything that is not one of the selected videos will then not be added in this audience. There's a lot of different ways you can try and filter this list, either by the specific dates, the last used date, the sources, whether it's the Facebook page, Instagram account, a campaign, or a specific video ID. And then you get to choose the Facebook page or any of the narrowing sources from the Facebook video section here. You can choose as many videos as you would like, or as few, as long as you have at least one in there. So this gives you a lot of control in how you want to re-engage with people based on the videos they've seen. If you have specific campaigns coming out for certain times of the year and somebody's seen the first in a series of ads, maybe you do or don't want to target them again. Or maybe you're trying to avoid anybody who's seen the ad before. Maybe you posted this a lot organically. If they've already seen it, you don't want to target them in an ad campaign. You can create a video views custom audience and then exclude them from your campaign. There's lots of different options you have here, but you do get to choose the specific videos and the different timeframes that you want to use. And then you'll notice the retention on this is a lot longer. Defaults to 365 days. That is the maximum. But again, I would just encourage you to make sure you're actually targeting them within a time frame that makes sense here. You'll also notice that there's no option to either further narrow or exclude anything within the audience here. So depending on how specific you want to get with your targeting, you might need to create multiple different video engagement custom audiences to achieve a specific goal. The next option is going to be lead form. This is going to feel fairly similar to videos in that you start off by targeting the 3 different events. Anybody who opened the form, somebody who opened but didn't submit the form, and somebody who opened and submitted the form. Those are going to be the only 3 options you have available here. You then get to choose the page, and you can choose the form that you have eligible for this account. So just like with videos, you can choose either all of the lead forms or a specific set of them to create your audience as customized as you want. You do have the option to include and exclude people, and you can use either the any or all functionality within the lead gen form custom audience. So there's a lot more control here than there are for video views. But overall, this one's pretty self-explanatory, pretty easy. Next is going to be based on instant experience. Again, you start off with the events that people took. Either they opened the instant experience or they clicked any of the links in the instant experience. Those are the only 2 options you have. You can either choose all of your instant experiences or any specific ones that you've built over time. And again, all of the other audience functionality is here. So if you want to include, exclude any specific people, you can do that. The next option is going to be a shopping custom audience source. And for this, you can target people who've interacted with your products in a shopping experience on Facebook or Instagram. Now, I have a few different options here. As we discussed, you can do Facebook or Instagram. So the platform, you get to choose first, whether you want it to be the Facebook page or Instagram account. From there, you would then choose the entity that you want to target. And then there's tons of different events that are available here. Anybody who viewed a product and navigated to the website. Somebody who saved a product, viewed the shops page, viewed a shops collection, added products to their cart, initiated checkout, or purchase. So you have effectively the entire e-commerce purchase funnel available in the shopping custom audience. And again, you have the option to have the retention of 180 days, but you have the full functionality to include, exclude, any and all of the different bells and whistles that you have here. So you can get a really hyper-focused shopping custom audience on the Facebook platform based on either your Facebook page or Instagram account. The next option here is going to be augmented reality. And this is one, again, we do not have anybody who's doing this. So you first get to choose the different type, whether it's an AR effect or an AR experience, depending on which one you've built. You can then choose the platform, Facebook or Instagram. You choose your page. Then you get to choose either the AR effect or the AR experience. And then for the events, you have anybody who opened your AR effect. And for experience, you get to choose anybody who opened the experience or anybody who clicked any of the links in the AR experience. All of the other bells and whistles are still in place, so even though this is a relatively limited set of events for your augmented reality actions, you still have a pretty good way to customize it to find exactly who you want with an AR custom audience. Okay, I think we're in the home stretch here. Next option is going to be Instagram account. Here you get to choose all of the events somebody had when they've interacted with your Instagram account. They either started following you, they engaged with your account, they visited the account's profile, engaged with any post or ad, sent a message to your Instagram account, or saved any post or ad. So think of all the ways people can engage with your Instagram account, and if you would want to be able to retarget or re-engage with any of those folks based on those actions, here's where you'd be able to create the custom audience to do it. You have up to 365 days to interact with them, and again, you have all of the different functionality pieces that you would want to create the exact custom audience that you need based on your Instagram custom audience. Now I'm going to skip events real quick because Facebook page is going to feel very similar to Instagram account. Again, you get to choose the page, and then anybody who's interacted with your page either because they followed it, engaged with it, visited the page, engaged with the post or ads, clicked a call to action button, sent you a message, or saved any post. So again, the options here are going to be nearly identical for a Facebook page that they are for an Instagram account. The only difference is that you have a call to action button here as well, whether that's a call or a message. Any of those other options, it's going to feel exactly the same to the Instagram account, and you can use all the other functionality to create as specific of custom audience as you want. Okay, now let's get back to the events section, and these are not going to be events like a website pixel event. These are going to be people who interacted with one of the events that you can create on your Facebook page. Just like a lot of these other engagement pieces, you get to choose how somebody interacted with the event first. Anybody who responded that they were going or interested, responded that they were just going or just interested. They may have visited the event page. Anybody who engaged with the event, entered the ticket purchase flow, meaning that they started to make a purchase, or they actually did purchase a ticket. And then to help cover the bases to get everybody, you can also find people who abandoned the purchase ticket flow. So effectively they entered the ticket purchase flow, but they did not actually purchase a ticket. And just like a lot of the other options here, under the actual Facebook event, you can either choose all of the events or just choose from the dropdown of events that you've created on the Facebook platform. And now on to the last one for on Facebook listings. And these are all, again, going to be based on events within your product catalog, but they're a lot more narrow. So these are going to be only people who viewed products in the catalog or who messaged about products in the catalog. But again, these are in your marketplace catalog, not your overall product catalogs that you would use for e-commerce. These are going to be different. So if you're utilizing anything in marketplace, this is where you're going to have the different options available. Since all of the additional steps to purchase are created in person, you're having an actual interaction with somebody. Facebook doesn't have events set up for that. So you're only able to know if somebody viewed that product or sent you a message. So not quite as robust as the different catalogs on the website. But again, this is all based on marketplace interaction. So if you list products on Facebook Marketplace, and you want to be able to re-engage with people who either viewed or messaged you about your products, this is where you would do it. And that covers all the different types of Facebook custom audiences. I know this video was long, but hopefully you kind of just jumped to the sections that made the most sense for you based on which type of custom audience you wanted to use. But your key takeaway here should be that just about any type of custom audience you want to build based on any way that somebody has interacted with your business, you can do it on Facebook and Instagram. Whether they come from one of your sources or one of Meta's sources, there are tons of different ways to interact with people who are at least somewhat aware of your business because of other actions they've taken in the past. Hopefully this walkthrough has given you some confidence to branch out of just a basic all website visitors retargeting audience and start to create something a little bit more customized. But just like I got on my soapbox earlier, please give your audiences names and descriptions that make sense, and don't just set the retention date to the maximum just because you can. If you have any additional questions about custom audiences on Facebook or any of the other portions of the Facebook ads platform, please leave us a note in the comments below. Thanks for watching our video. We really appreciate it. If you liked it, give us a thumbs up below. If you really liked it, maybe think about subscribing to the Paid Media Pros YouTube channel and you'll get alerted every time a new video drops.
If you really liked it, you can help support the channel by checking out some of the t-shirts that we're wearing on our merch shelf, as well as looking at the Super Thanks button.